Okay, folks, here we are again. Haven't been on all week, as I warned you. So, all right. So we left this exactly where we were at last time. We've got these of this batch to paint, and we're gonna do all these scrub palms first, or the fan palms first. Scrub palms? I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. What's up, Ben? Now you don't have to worry about me going on while you're in the middle of work. It's the mornings. I mean, the mornings on the weekend don't count. Those will be as long as I'm here for the weekend, which I'll be here this weekend. Next weekend I won't be. I may be on Saturday morning. I'm not sure what time we're leaving on Saturday, but I definitely won't be on Sunday. So, okay. We're not going to talk about work. We're not even going to use words that start with a letter W. Oh, man. Okay. So, let's see. We've got these two palms to do. Oh, it's a big one and a little one. And I might, if I have the motivation, I may make a test palm stand. I don't know yet. Don't hold me to it. I am totally in go with the flow mode for sure. All right, so trying to decipher what the heck exactly is going on here. Okay, we still have a big one of these. This isn't a big deal because I can add these later, but I'm trying to scratch in my head what the heck is left. I tried to be pretty methodical about this, but I'm not sure. So, oh, this is the broken one. Got it. That's why this one's here. Okay. Because if we use, I thought it was two, and I'm just going crazy. It's actually a miracle I haven't been hospitalized this week. Actually, I was. It was just, it came out okay. Yeah, I don't think that's actually going to work with this knockdown. I mean, we could do it something like this and chop some of these things up. So I'm going to, so I don't get confused, I'm going to put this guy all together. And then there's a bottom one that goes with that one. Okay? So that's all together. So we got these two fronds to do. And these all use these that are over here. Okay, so let's knock these two out. Do these the same methods that we've done. And then move on. Yeah, I saw the one video that one guy did used cork. And I liked, one of the reasons that he used it a lot is because it was heavy. So I could totally see that being an issue or being helpful. Obviously, this was going to be by itself. And now I'm not focusing too much on exactly how they're going to look on stands. I'm sure all that'll straighten itself out. All right, we have a cacophony of brushes that have been left here in without supervision, because I haven't touched this area. I haven't even sat on this side since Monday, since the last show that we did Monday. So, all right. Well, there sure isn't a whole lot of water there. All right, well, we'll make do. What have you been up to? Dealing with, other than dealing with customer service nightmare issues? I want to talk to a supervisor. Hey, I heard on the news, I don't know if it's true or not, you guys are going to let 16-year-olds vote. Oh, that sounds like a great idea. I think the only way you should let 16-year-olds vote is if you don't count the votes. Your votes don't count. We'll let you vote, but we're not going to count the votes. This thing is a little incorrigible. Managed to get to 0-6 at DVA. Yeah! Well, I lost 7 or 8 games before I won one. So, it's got nothing to do with your competency level. It is the hardest. It is the Neo-Hittites took 2 losses in a row. It sounds like your experienced friend is just trashing you. Is he giving you any pointers, or he's just like, "Show up, Ben. I'm thirsty for you." Did you tell him you were going to keep track of your wins and losses? He's like, "Oh yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind you keeping track of them as long as I'm thrashing you." It's funny. I kept track of all my games, and several people would ask me how our records were against each other. Like nobody was interested in keeping track other than me. Which is I can only keep track of the games that I play you. So if you play somebody else and you don't keep track of it, I'm sorry, I can't track that. So, there's some people that I guess they're interested in being competitive. They just don't want to do all the book work. Which isn't a big deal as long as you do it right then and there. And it's just kind of fun. I think it's fun to just see, if you think, oh, do you think you do well with this army? No. Or like, hey, what's the biggest losses you've ever had? Or how many times have you taken a camp? Or, that was a good one, actually. I think I'm only like 6. 6 times if I've taken a camp. It's not one of my plays. I don't go and like, hey, let's go take his camp. The only way to take his camp is if he sets up everybody to one side and you leave it undefended. Or something happens in the middle of the game where his entire line breaks and you find a chance to go after the camp. But, I'm not a camp, invader. I don't want to take your camp followers, I've seen what your people look like. I don't want none of them women. Let's get a little bit of a darker thing. So that's not something I normally do. A lot of it is just perception. What did you think? Did you think your army did well? I don't know. Well, that's why you keep records of it. They were against my inexperienced friend. Got done over by low combat rolls and having no good combat elements. 1 light chariot general, 5 fast ox, and 6 Saloy. Oh shit! I said the PS word. Damn me! 1,000 lashes. 6 skirmishers. Yeah, that's a crappy army, man. I'm not saying it's not any fun, but you need to play against, equally crappy armies. Against the classical Indians, oh yeah, no. The classical Indians can just sit back and not take any risks. And that's what it is you got a situation where one guy doesn't have to take any risks, and he's just as competitive as you, but you have to take the risks. So, I remember one guy would get on the Fanaticus there and he says, I don't know how to use bow. I think they suck. I'm like, no, that's not how he worded it. But basically came to the conclusion like, you're an idiot. You know, I mean, the first couple of armies I played a tournament. I didn't have any bow. And the first time I encountered bow, they just beat the shit out of me. And I'm like, I like this element that takes no risk shooting at me when it can afford to roll a bunch of ones. You can roll all the ones in a row you want with bows. As long as you're not facing other bows, you can throw ones and, it doesn't get you killed. Because if he's not returning fire, who cares? Yeah, but DBA is so early 21st century. Oh, man. I don't think that Mitch is playing that much. DBA. Oh, maybe somebody will have a chance to beat the crap out of him at the convention then. You won't have, all these days and practices, all these chances to practice. This week has been really hot. Like real feels like 106, 107, 108. I don't know what the hell that is in centigrade. Over 40. Hittites only had 3 bows, if I remember correctly. It was the list. He only had 3 bows. I remember it was a list with 3 elephants and a bunch of heavy chariots and cav. Got more hot armies on the go, and I do better in that game for some reason. Well, I've only played Hordes of the Things maybe 4 times. And I don't have anything against it other than, I'm not really into fantasy armies. And I don't understand why the mechanism of both isn't the same. That's why I really couldn't get into it. If it was like, okay, the mechanisms are the same, but we have knights and we have monsters and we have gods and we have all that, and then there's just special rules for them, but the other troop types are exactly the same. But that wasn't the case. That may be the case now with whatever DBF is or whatever, but Hordes of the Things and DBA 2.2 had similarities and a lot of things that weren't similar. So I played them as multiplayer games. So there was always somebody around I could ask, hey, can I do this? Or what's this guy do? Or, Because most people that you play against, if you don't know how to play something and you ask them, most individuals will tell you, but they're only going to tell you if you ask them. Not like, hey, I wouldn't do that because this could happen to you. Like, well, he didn't ask me, so, he pulled his pants down, so I decided to cut it off kind of thing, That's how most people are going to be. And then some people are going to be like, I'm not going to tell him shit because I'm going to use a trick against him. And I could, chalk another one in the win column. And I'm like, I don't want to keep anything from somebody. Last thing if you want to get somebody into playing a game, the last thing you want to do is whoop their ass so badly, it's painful, and they're just not going to come back and play another game. Which is going to be most people. Most people are going to be like that. You don't help them out. You don't tell them what it is that what they need to be thinking about. You just go and lay into them, they're probably not going to come back for another game. Some people aren't going to come back for another game even when you help them out. I've had people that came out of the blue, you helped them out so much, they won the tournament, and they never came back and played another game. When I started, we used to collect money from people to play to get awards, and they would do awards for the people that did really well, and they do like the award for like the worst player. Well, it doesn't, like they give them like an army or figures. The guy who does the worst is probably a waste giving him something because he's like, well, fuck this, I don't want to play this game. What? Now you got I got my ass kicked. Oh, so now you're gonna give me a consolation prize? So let me go spend time painting an army to a game that I can't win. Like, it doesn't work that way, you know? So I quickly found out I don't like asking people for money. I don't want to say, hey, can it's a $5 tournament thing, and people come up with excuses or whatever. I don't like taking money from people. Okay? And then it just turns into like, oh, you're going to make these awards for the same people to win all the time. So it's like, So when I ran the events, I didn't take money from people. I'm just like, I'm just going to provide whatever prize support I'm willing to give away, which is like, my time and making a little, plaque. I call it a plaque, but it's just a photograph or whatever and put in a little frame, just a little memento. That's why you like kind of looking at some more scenario type games. Well, the problem with the scenario type games is then somebody's got to provide all the figures, which was the big appeal for me in DBA was I didn't have to. I didn't have to worry about painting these figures exquisitely and having some shithead come in and and manhandle them, and be ham-fisted. Well, I did get a package from Hornby yesterday. I think they sent me the two spare parts I needed, but they didn't send me any decals. So, oh well, it was worth a try. Note to self, though: I'm not if something's open, I'm gonna make sure that the decals are in there because who knows what the hell happened to them. That's all right. I'm not gonna get fucked like that before again. But it took a long time to get the stuff they said they were gonna send. Oh yeah, how poor is the scenarios from that other company I sent you? Are they lacking? Or is it just because they're fictional? You were unsure of them. Well, you have this idea that when you get something that is by a credible source, somehow they have some kind of information you're not privy to. So like, okay, well let me get these. Oh, this must be like two fat lardies. Oh man, they must have something that I don't have. Or somebody or. And then when it comes down to it is almost every scenario you come across ends up having stuff that's just made up. I don't mean, nefariously done, but just like there's blanks you need to fill in. And I came to realize that I might as well, I'm fine filling them. I'm competent enough to fill them in myself. I don't need to get them from somebody else. So I get these ideas that somehow getting into some scenario, I'm going to have some, I'll be privy to some kind of information that isn't normally available. And I'll have this, I'll have this disappointment when I get it. It's like, oh, that's all it is. I don't have it printed out. I got it on my computer, but the one that I bought was like a campaign game. I forget exactly what it's called, but it was a campaign in Normandy. It's the only one that's a campaign game, and it was in Normandy from the American viewpoint. And you basically have a squad. And right off the bat, the very first scenario, it hits me that the squad leader is running a BAR. Now, I'm sure that a squad leader out there ran a BAR at some point, But I would say that is definitely the exception. The squad leader isn't there to grab the BAR from the get go. You know, he's got to coordinate things. You know, and you can't coordinate things when you're like the main suppressive fire dude. So it would just had a bunch of oddities like that. It was like a Hollywood movie, like a really the guy in charge has the BAR, and the scenarios just seem kind of hokey. Like a little too. When I look at a scenario and I start seeing stuff that doesn't jive, to me they lose all credibility. That doesn't mean the scenarios aren't fun or anything, but I buy them with the intention of somehow they have information I don't have. Now, all the skirmish campaign ones, I haven't had a problem with any of them. Some of the ones that aren't skirmish campaigns, yeah, I've seen. I saw that I got the chain of command scenario book for Wintergewitter. And there's some interesting board setups for that one. Nothing great, and they're all, pulled out of their ass, for the most part, because it doesn't tell you like where little houses and stuff are. You just kind of have to, you just figure they have access to information that you don't have, and they've play tested it a lot, so it's balanced. So you're like, well, these guys have to get off the board in 3 turns or whatever. Well, how are you gonna know that 3 turns is balanced? Well, they supposedly played it a dozen times. Well, that may or may not be the case, but immediately when the extras, I found out with the Germans and the Wintergewitter one is they could have flamethrower Panzer threes, Flampanzer threes, which weren't available in December 1942. So I'm like, okay, well that's suspect. And stuff like that. You just start running into things like, it's like when you go and see Generation War, right? Generation War is a great series. But they go and they do this shot at Stalingrad and some guy fires a Panzerfaust at him. Well, first of all, it was a Russian firing a Panzerfaust at him. So they would have to capture a weapon that wasn't available for another 8 months. So, yeah, So I never bought another one of those Final Combats. Now, I had the Final Combat rules. Like I said, I'm like, oh man, these rules are going to be super detailed. And then it's like, yeah, you can roll for like the eye color of your character. I'm like, this is really cool. This is going to be like, something that's going to be like, I could customize all the figures. And then you get to the part where you roll for eye color, and it's like, you have roll a D, I don't know if this is exactly, it might be D10, but roll a D6, 1 to 2 brown, 3 and 4 blue, 5 and 6 green. I said, well, I don't know what you know about genetics, but there isn't, a third of the people aren't blue-eyed, and a third of the people aren't. That means 2/3 of the people are going to be, blue or green-eyed. I'm like, no. Us green-eyed people are an elite group. So it's just like, they added this randomization, but didn't quantify the randomization anyway. It's just like, okay, well, there's an even chance of everything. I'm like, well, that's just fictitious. So there was just stuff like that, that kind of makes me wonder, like, I'm not saying it wouldn't be a good game, but you expect it to be at a higher level than it actually is. You expect somehow these guys are like pro level folks, and they have access to something you don't have, and that just isn't the case. I wanted to get the one that has the partisans, but they're like $15 a piece. So you could do just as well, I think, making up your own. There's a couple of skirmish campaigns that are available on their website for free. And one of them actually is in Normandy and involves a knocked out Sherman tank. And the Sherman tank is just there and can move its turret, but like there's a chance that its machine gun, like the main armament isn't operable, but like there's a chance that the machine gun can fire. You have to roll randomly to see what kind of damage is. So there's a little bit of variation in that kind of stuff, but you know, if you're making a scenario to be balanced, yeah, you kind of need to play test it. If you're just running a scenario, just use some common sense because even if stuff is balanced on paper, when you start rolling, things can just go sideways quick. The last thing like that I got that I was really impressed with was the micromark stuff. I don't know where the hell your micromark guy got some of this information or if he just pulled it out of his ass, okay? But it's a level of legitimacy that I haven't seen on other stuff. So I was pretty impressed with like the Africa Core stuff that I saw, you know. So he obviously has access to things that I don't have access to. Of course, I want even more detail. I'm like, it tells you what tank it is. All right, what's the number on it? Well, exactly which company was it in? That kind of stuff. I mean, some of that I have to make up myself. I have to make up myself. But he's done a lot of the educated guesswork already. And the skirmish campaign games, the scenarios may all be completely just made up, but they feel all right. They feel pretty good. There's a whole bunch of scenarios in that Operation Epsom, and I wish they had made more. I wish they had made, Epsom is just one of the British Normandy things, but they could have done, which is the one that everybody talks about, Goodwood. Goodwood, but Epsom has a lot of Churchills with Tommies with Churchills. 2 to 4 Churchills and 2 to 4 Tommy squads or fire teams. Yeah, I had bought that set of rules about the same time I got Face of Battle. It had just come out, and those guys play that game they used to play that game at Historicon with pre-painted figures. Okay, and they're I don't know 54 millimeter. They were pretty big figures. Like King and Country makes them. I'm like, those are expensive figures. I'm not letting somebody just some rando come in and just and abuse something that isn't. But they come pre-painted. Some bloody rando. Library loans are a secret weapon. So 90% of the info never digitized. He pulls in by just asking the library to get him obscure academic books. Is that what he does for a living? Because man, that's exhausting. You can't go to the library here in the United States full of homeless people. I mean, unless you have a fetish for homeless people, in which case, have at it. But our I was pretty happy with the list that I've gotten, and I've only gotten a handful of them. And there's some stuff that's missing. It's not like there's everything. But that's like okay, I'll risk $1.80 or whatever. That's his job. Okay, all right. Well, that's pretty cool. He can make a living at that. That's because your health care is subsidized. You could be like, you could You could be unemployed and still get as good health care. Good for him. I like his list. Tell him I said hi. You go, let me go make un café. Let's go make un café. Yeah, he has a level of detail on stuff as far as tank types and different units that I haven't seen in other documentations. And I mean, I could make some of that stuff up, but I don't want to, you know? I mean, you're going to have to do some kind of educated guesswork. You don't want to guess everything. The beginning of skirmish campaign books uses a rating system and usually recommends his books on World War II battlefields. Well, I remember that those folks that made those skirmish campaigns, they were pushing their rule set, Arc of Fire. But if you look at the rule sets that they have at the beginning of the books, you know, the one I use is the only one that really speaks to me. So, I'm surprised there haven't been more Chain of Command version 2 rules out there. I have seen several videos of the first game, and they're rather entertaining. I'm surprised how quick they move. Not that I have a problem with a game lasting long, as long as you get to finish. As long as you get to play it to completion, it doesn't really matter how long it takes. But I got maybe the version 2 isn't out. I know they've announced it, but holy chipmon! Yeah, and I haven't painted. I haven't painted in a week. I haven't painted since Monday. Since Monday day, because I'm only going to do weekend mornings. It's a pain. It's just too much. It's too much setup for not enough, you know. Yeah, we're plugging along. I actually have less palm trees than I thought I had, and this isn't all of them by any stretch of the imagination. This is probably maybe a third of how many I have, just to be fair, you know. But they look pretty good. I mean, they look pretty decent. They look good enough that I saw the stuff in War Game Soldiers and Strategy, and I wasn't as impressed. That's when you know you're doing things right. Oh, and just so you know, just for the Marcus factor, we got coconuts on them. You know, if you want to play upskirt on the palm tree, I was going to do those anyways for me. Like, I can see them. Palm tree, upskirt. But I watched this one guy that was doing bamboo, and I'm probably going to follow his lead on it. As he came up with stuff that I would have never come up with. It never would have occurred to me to do that. But he did these palm trees and he airbrushed them, and I'm like, nah, I'm going to work with the colors that are already here. I mean, they look just fine. And the look even, you know, this just kicks everything back and it just looks like it's washed out, but it's not. But it's been slow going on my Japanese, but I'm planning on hobbying Saturday and Sunday mornings. I'm proud of me. Well, I've had a really bad week. I've had a really, really bad week, and I'm ready for this weekend. So yeah, I'll be on here. I'll be on here tomorrow morning for sure. The girls are out of town, um, so I'll be on. Yeah, I think this is the right way to do it. Let's get the terrain going, and the figures will paint themselves. But getting like, oh man, I got all these great figures. I don't know what to do about palm trees. All right, well, let me move on to something else. You know, it's like, try washing letters from Iwo Jima, man. I just couldn't keep. I couldn't. I've seen it before. I just couldn't stay interested. It looked really, really dated. Looked like a movie from like the '80s or something. Like the picture quality. It was like I was a bit disappointed. Okay. And what I've been doing is every time I take some of them to spray, I spray the other ones too. So by the time we're done, they'll be protected enough. They'll be protected enough from any kind of handling. Now, I told my wife, hey, don't throw away any styrofoam because now I need a styrofoam friend. Now I need I'm gonna move this off to the side and grab one of those pieces of styrofoam. I need some place to stack these things. Yeah, they look pretty fucking good. I'm gonna tell you that. They look pretty fucking good. See what it looks like over here at the other table. Well, the light's not so direct. You know, but I gotta do them kind of in an easy, cheating kind of way. You know, so my way of cheating is I'm just gonna dry brush on top of the colors that are already there. Now, if the colors were unacceptable, that's different. Now, I'm gonna have to change how I'm gonna do that when I come across some of these. And these are the org memory ones. This one just flat out won't do. This will do just fine. This won't do. Okay? So we're going to have to paint these fronds. You know? Because this is just ridiculous. All right? And there's a few of them. You know? Well, I think all of the trunks on all of them are just fine. Look at this weird thing. It's a naughty old thing. So, let me go grab a piece of styrofoam. I'll be right back. And I'm going to go ahead and use the little boy's room. This is what we're going to stick those on. All right. So here's all these stumps. Let's see if we can't kind of figure out what's going on with them. Who's who in the stump world? Yeah, let me make all the mistakes for you. That's why I watch stuff. Not that, hey, that guy fucked up. It's like, there's some things that, especially if you see somebody's video, like fast forward to the end. Do you like how it turns out? No. Okay, then you don't need to bother watching the video. You know? It's like, if I'm making something and you don't like how it turns out, well, you don't need, it's irrelevant how I did it. Okay. 1, 2. I guess it doesn't really matter what I paint, how I paint these. All we're gonna do is all these have all. I've just done the wash of the strong tone on it, and we're just gonna take this barnwood, which is this beige, that's a little on the gray side. It might even have a little bit of pink in it. Yeah, I probably shouldn't say that. Everybody's buying out pink things. It's definitely warm to some degree or another. Now, if these didn't have a mold line on them, they'd be stellar. But it's a little bit of an inconvenience that it has a mold line on it that needs to be scraped off. So, if you leave it on there, you can see the mold line. If you scrape it off, you're creating kind of a flat spot. Kind of. First one he pulled off from the back that needs a paint job on the fronds. Yeah, it's a good looking palm tree other than that. Now, I could just say, I like that palm tree, and I'm just going to sacrifice one of these other fronds and just replace the fronds, right? Use one of these dark green ones on it. That's legit, Yeah, the guy who did the bamboo, man, I'm going to follow his lead because there's a couple guys did bamboo. One of them, I didn't really care that I watched the video. One of them, I didn't really care how he did it. But the other one, man, he wanted all the stalks to get together, so he cut all the leaves off of one side and then used the leaves as the ground cover. I mean, it was like, that guy's brilliant. That's what it is. You just need, somebody else to think outside the box. Maybe, I've done stuff that he wouldn't be able to come up with. It's like everybody's got some ideas. I'm glad I didn't spend so much time like Terrain Tutor trying to figure out what color to use for the fronds, because man, it seems like he spent a lot of time figuring it out. It's not saying he's stupid or anything. I'm just saying that I'm glad I didn't have to spend the time on that. And what I really want to do is the big jungle deciduous trees. So I was trying to decipher some of those pictures in that magazine article, and what I noticed is it's hard to tell how they made the sausage. What was that? How they made the sausage of the terrain, because they used lichen to hide to cheat and cover up the space between the stands. Miniature Dork Universe, I believe that's the guy. Yeah, the guy that kept shocking himself with the. Well, I'm not a big fan of static grass, and I certainly never use static grass applying static to it so it stands straight up. I know, so I've been doing it wrong. No, well, I mean, it just never occurred to me to do that. I'm certainly not if you're going to shock yourself. Am I am I in favor of doing that nonsense, you know? But his palm trees were okay. His bamboo is stellar. I think that's the guy. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it isn't. Hold on a second here. Let me go. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's this guy that. Okay, playlist history. Okay. Let's see what we got. It's the Davies Super Channel. I don't know if that's Miniature Dork Universe. And I'm not saying his palms are bad by any stretch of the imagination, but he airbrushed them. And he spent a lot more time doing them than I did. And I don't know that they look any better. I mean, actually, I like my fronds better. Oh, great. It's upside down. That guy. But his bamboo is incredible. His bamboo is so good it makes his palms look like crap. His bamboo is stellar. I mean, that terrain looks really good. Now, what I'm going to plan on doing is he's got a lot of space between the edge of the stand and where the bamboo starts. Mine's going to be less than that. But that's how I'm going to do it. Because it's like, it would never have occurred to me to chop some of it to get it close together. It wouldn't have occurred to me. I would have fought the whole damn thing. Now, I'm a little concerned that I'm going to be able to prime and get the black in all those spaces. But he airbrushed it. I like how he airbrushed. I'm not going to use Tamiya paints, you know. I like his color choices. So, but I feel like that one clump of that stuff, that could take a week to do. But you know what? When you're done with it, now you're down a clump. And I think what I'm going to do, instead of trying to figure out how it is, I think I'm going to make clumps that are maybe about this big. And then if you have 7 or 8 of them, and then you can put them kind of close together, and then you can use the sprinkles that I use that you pick up afterwards to define where the whole area is. So you can use one clump of bamboo like this. I wouldn't use one clump of bamboo and put sprinkles like way out. And it's like, hey, anything out here is also bamboo. No, it's not meant for that. It's that almost like you can use them on the perimeter or somewhere in the middle, that kind of stuff. At least that's what I'm thinking initially. But I am enjoying the terrain. Some of you guys are like, hey, I want you to do some terrain. Some of the stuff that I've done lately that I've enjoyed the most has actually been terrain. That little Italian house, which is going to be a jungle house. That could be in somewhere in Asia. Somewhere that was a Portuguese or a Spanish colony. So, I'd say an Italian colony, but they never made it to Asia. Yeah, see, that looks pretty good just with one color. Well, technically, there's two colors. There's the base color of the plastic, and then there's the wash, then this dry brush. There's going to be another dry brush on top of that. And then we're done, Yeah, his bamboo looks incredible. His troops look pretty damn good, too. Too bad he's using it to play Flames of War. Some people just want to spend a lot of time building stuff, and then they're fine, with games that don't have a lot of detail. Maybe that's not their thing. Just like some people might want games that have a lot of detail, but they don't paint it all. So, I just don't want to do a game where I'm painting all kinds of specific stuff, like the right color water bottle and all that, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Although I'd have to say that that's pretty universal, because if you're playing a game where the size of the water bottle matters, The most specific thing I've ever run into a game is I was playing that game in Enlisted, which is one of those first-person shooters or whatever. It's made by the same people that did War Thunder. And in there, the tanks, and I don't know if this is accurate or not, I never really thought about it, but the tanks all fire magazine-fed machine guns. So let's say you're talking about a whole machine gun on a Panther or a Panzer IV as opposed to one on a T-34. And the German magazines are 75 rounds, and the Russians are like 47. So the Russians have a lot more dead time in between firing it, than the Germans do. So it's something I've never seen actually take place in the game. Any of those games I've seen, like, they just belt-fed weapons. Not like, okay, well, when you get to 75, you're going to have to change your magazine. He did a real cool video on rubble using cork. Might have to go that route as well as when I get my French village. The 3D print rubble won't fully get me there. Yeah, you need a lot of... You need to buy about 30,000 bricks. That definitely got me where I needed to go, but I could always use more rubble, Even if it has no effect, just being there looks like it's part of the thing. I saw lots of ways of making other deciduous trees, like for jungle trees, like the trees that are in between the palms, because the jungle isn't all palm trees. Otherwise, you could see right through it. But the other trees, pretty much almost everybody universally used Woodland Scenics, the wire stuff. And it's funny because there's several products that they use, it's several videos that I watched that are universally used to make some of those trees. Now, I don't have any Woodland Scenics armatures, but I'm not opposed to buying some. But they use those, and then they use that that stuff that I bought that I've never used. I'm always looking for ways to use stuff that I've already bought. This stuff right here, Hobby Tack adhesive. I bought this at the hobby store and never used it. Spent $8 on it. So to add the foliage. Well, thanks for coming on, guys. I appreciate your company. I was definitely in a bad mood when I left work. And, oh shit, I said the W word. But we're all right. We're all better now. Some people are like, man, I had a hard day at work. Let me have a drink. That doesn't solve anything. Not for me. It is if you stay, lit until you have to go back to work or even while you're at work. But that's just temporary. That doesn't solve anything. I think in 31 years, the only time I've ever had a drink after work because it was stressful was, I think, twice in 31 years. So 31 times 200, that's 6,000 days, whatever. 2 days out of 6,000. Probably should have put these farther apart from each other. So I could just dry brush them on there. Because also, this is a good place to seal them. So like I'll seal all these before we put fronds on them. Because these are more susceptible to have the paint come off than the paint come off, than the fronds are. Because you have to grab them by the trunk. Grab them by the trunk. Whoa. Starting to give me chills down my spine. That sound. As somebody have like putting cotton in their mouth. Like some people drive crazy. So you're working on Japanese? Yeah. I kind of put the vehicles on hiatus, and I don't know if part of the reason is that class that I'm going to take. I don't think that's part of the reason. I just wanted to do terrain. But I'm taking a class at a seminar. I'm taking a class, I think, and I've got enough skills. I should be able to use it. I don't know. Maybe it won't be anything helpful, but it's some products I've never used before, and it's taught by Mr. Mig himself. It's going to be in Tampa, and it just happens to be a weekend that I'm going to be in Tampa as well. Anyways, we got to go to a wedding that same day, so yeah, it just so happened I saw that they're having them host a how to use this product. Of course, he's promoting his products, which aren't cheap, but the cost of the class basically is the cost of one of his product set. Sent you a picture of the batch before painting. Also painting 2 Chihas. Fujimi. I wish those things were cheaper. Because, I don't have a problem building old kits, right? And Fujimis have been around forever, and they're not the best kits out there, but they do just fine. I mean, they look just fine. They look as, I don't have a problem with them. I don't have a problem with them being 176 scale instead of 172nd. I have a problem with them being $17 a piece. Like, I'm sure you didn't pay that for them. You probably had them a long time. But you're probably going to be like, if I'm getting any Japanese tanks, I'm going to get them from Chad. It is one of the companies, I forget which one it is. Avernay? It might be Avernay. I want to say it's Avernay. They have, they make all, even the half track. I want to get me one of those half tracks. Yeah, I want to go down to that MIG thing. Maybe I can teach that MIG guy something to do. Hey, I'm painting with some minimalist. I'm painting with some minimalist stuff. I don't have real specific a wash specifically for German vehicles, and a wash that's specifically for American vehicles, and one that's for Soviets, and like, the little mud from, Russian front mud as opposed to the Western front mud. I mean, that's a little too a good way to spend a shitload of money on different stuff. Like, I'm not looking for more ways to spend money on things. Yeah, those half tracks do look cool, don't they? The Honu or whatever it is, it's a hoe something. It's some kind of hoe. They look cool. I'm not saying they're not a piece of shit or something, but they remind me of that covered up Maltier that the Germans have. The one that has the rockets on the back that's just kind of enclosed all the way. It looked kind of like that. It's a good looking vehicle. Who is that, anyways? Let's see. Let's go to Iron Horse Collectibles. Iron Horse Collectibles. It's not Kulan. It was Wargame 3D, actually. Japan. Yeah. And there might be other people, but the ones I was looking at was the Wargame Miniatures 3D. Ho-Ha. That's what it is. It's the Ho-Ha half-track. This thing looks awesome. It's probably a piece of shit. I mean, only the Japanese vehicles are only worth a damn now. And in the 90s. That's cool as shit. Ho-ha! I mean, this thing's too. This artillery tractor, this thing looks badass also. Like some steampunk thing. Suki amphibious truck. Oh, that thing's ugly. That thing's ugly. Never mind. But the commies look good. Unfortunately, I think all the commies were gray. Because they fell under the jurisdiction of the Navy. And all the Navy stuff is gray. Could be gray with some overspray camouflage or something. As long as I paint the underside, then I'm okay. Artillery observation tankette. There's some cool stuff here. Chiha Kai. It's some cool stuff. For sure, for sure. Okay. We got these where we want them. Alright, let's look what we got over here in Frondland. Yeah, so if you got like a group of palm trees, like say you got a group of palm trees like, with some small palms that's maybe this big, this thing can be off the side. So you have a group here, and then you have this lonesome one. Because it's got a magnet on the bottom. So we can put one of those shims underneath the plane thing. It'll stand by itself. You can move it around wherever you want. I want a palm tree next to this command building. Well, you put that there. And, maybe I'll really like it. I'll buy another pack, and they'll all be magnetized ones. But the only reason I turned that one into one is because, well, the end broke off. So we had to do something. All right, let's see what we've got here so we can decipher what is going on here. What is going on in this place? Okay, these should be all the fronds for these. So just to double check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of that type. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 4 of these. Okay, so it looks like, if I remember correctly, these that are kind of wild. Whoop! We don't want to break another one. Are this type of palm. Now, I don't understand why it's not going all the way through, so let's just test this out. Let's take part of this and cut it off. Now, does it fit in better? Yes. Okay, perfect. So that solved it. However, what we're going to need to do is, these are going to be a problem because I don't have anywhere to grab them from. All right, so what I'm going to do is, let's get an alligator clip. I think I should be able to hold them tight enough on that. Yep. Okay, so these, I'm going to go ahead and put the little tops on them. Where's the, just cut a little bit of this off. Okay, here's another one. Ho-ha! Ho-ha! Yeah, a lot of those videos had like hot glue guns and stuff like that. Hold on a second. 1, 2. No, these are this cabbage pound. I fucked up again. It's this kind. All right. No harm, no foul. I'm sure they made sure these were a certain species, or some plantologist nerd burglar doesn't challenge them to a slap fest or something, a sissy fight. Death by sissy fight. We'll keep this one out. That's the first one we're going to do. All right, what about all these little guys? So we have all these cute little fronds, and some of them have, looks like there's 4 of the standard ones. Okay, are there 4 that are maybe a little taller? Like, say, that one. Well, don't need to cut any of those off, okay? This one. This one. And the other one will be the other ones will be this little cabbage style. If anyone ever tells me I got the wrong palms for a particular island, there's definitely going to be a smackdown. Yeah. Plant nerd. Well, you could probably smell them coming. It's probably somebody stinky. I haven't bathed since the last Earth Day. Since the day before the last Earth Day. No more bending over, please. No more bending over. So I don't know what help the detergent did, but it had to be helpful. There's no way it hurt it, so I'm going to keep washing them in detergent. Now, what I'm not going to do is cut off the bottom and put a piece of piano wire because, I don't need to do that. That's extreme. That's extreme. All right, so these are cabbage style. We're going to start off with this green. I don't see any reason to mix more colors. I don't want this. This isn't Fantasy Island. There's no midget here. There's no midget running around here. There we go. Well, I didn't talk about this because I didn't paint midweek, but I actually played hooky on my model meeting. I didn't go to the model meeting this time. I went to Mitch's house and we played. We played some Axis and Allies. I didn't really care about gaming. I just kind of wanted to hang out. But I guess I didn't talk about that because, well, I haven't been on. So that was my first bad day. Was Tuesday, and I'm like, man, I don't want to drive across town. I had a very challenging day at work. Every day has been very challenging at work, and I didn't want to drive all the way across town twice. So the Strellis Japanese mix really well with the combat miniatures. They also have good animation. I'm painting one guy who's heaving a grenade and has another in the balancing hand ready to go. Well, what do you think about my idea about making up an island? I mean, it seems reasonable. I mean, we're not going to give it a jackass name. That's not the whole point. That's not the point. The point is, I could put one of those Japanese half tracks. Well, I churched my thing, and there was no Japanese half tracks that were used on, Paleo or whatever. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that island, And I'm not doing it so that you can have, one guy playing Marines, one guy playing Australians, one guy playing, Indian Army, the other guy playing Rangers. That's not the point. The point is not to do that. The point is to, not have to worry about, if I have only a handful of special landing force guys, and not have to worry about, oh well, they didn't use those in the Philippines or wherever. So it's going to be, it's going to be played realistic, and they'll have. I mean, I don't think I would do something like the Americans would be in bunkers and stuff like that, and the Japanese are attacking. I'm not going to reverse it, but we can put an airfield, and you can put a P-40 on the airfield, and you have to stop the Japanese from shooting up the P-40 or whatever. Something reasonable. That island, literally, should work fine because it's like a stretch. So it's not the idea to do something crazy, but just to have the freedom of being able to, use things that you find. Definitely plenty of yellow squiggly line on your Chiha tanks. I know it's more early war. So a couple things that I found out about that. It seems like the Japanese never repainted their tanks. So if it's a tank that's available at the beginning of the war, and we're talking like through 1942. So like in 43 and 44, new tanks that come out, you wouldn't have that. Like you wouldn't have a Shinhoto Chiha with the squiggly yellow stripe. And I happen to like this squiggly yellow stripe. I'm in the same mindset. It looks a lot better. As a matter of fact, some of the vehicles I have that don't have the squiggly line look like they're painted wrong. The squiggly line is just so like entrenched. But supposedly the Japanese tanks were never repainted, which of course means they're always going to look really dirty, you know. But you can go on Google Earth, go over somewhere in the Philippines or somewhere else, and look at like pictures people have submitted of maybe a little farm or a restaurant in the background, and and the Philippines just looks like Cuba. It looks like somewhere in the Caribbean. Same type trees, everything. And I'm sure there's parts of Formosa that probably look the same way too. And normally it would not be like me to just invent the names of the islands, but I don't know. Maybe I played too much World of Warships. That some kind of uh, some kind of variations are okay. Like speaking of World of Warships, I don't even mind playing the ships that were never built, as long as they're designs that could have been built. That's just then it's historical fantasy. So same thing. There's some of these Japanese tanks that didn't make it off the home islands. Well, they might be on this island. Yeah. But Okinawa was the last one. Hey, easy there, Kingfish. Only reason I want to go to Japan is go to like the Tamiya factory or something like that. We watched a program last couple weeks ago, and actually, my daughter went on the Alaska cruise, and my wife and I ended up watching this program. Some guy that goes to Japan or whatever. He's some comedian, and it's pretty funny. It wasn't the James May one. We've seen that one before. So that way we don't have to deal with the earthquakes. Gonna go get some sleep. Be on in the morning. Okay. Is it that late? Well, you may be up for a while. So, hey man, thanks for coming by. We'll see you in the morning. I don't know how much longer. Well, I'll be on here until there's lack of interaction, and then we'll be back on in the morning. I'm not really in a hurry to get this done by a certain time. Let's give up on this. This is moving around a little too much. I think I want to finish this before I work on any figures, or before we go on to another theater. Yeah, it's kind of a challenge. I know a lot of people struggle with this jungle terrain. I'm like, all right, well, let's just jump in and see what happens. Yeah, I'm sure Ben already went to sleep. Like freaking 2 o'clock there. Although I used to be a night owl, but in the 1990s. And what we'll do is we'll seal these completely, frond and everything. And this just kind of gives them the basic color. I can go in there and add some more detail to them if I feel like they just look a little too boring. But I don't think that's going to be necessary. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and how long have we been on here? An hour and a half? Okay. I'm going to sign off too. And I'll be back in the morning at the regular bat time. So we should be on by 6 o'clock or so. All right, folks, thanks for coming by.